Mm, 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 mm. About to go live with Ant.
We love essential workers.
We're gonna go live in a minute with Anthony MSG and talk
Dr.
about
Dad.
some legendary point guard basketball. You know, all them people that we love, all the new cats.
You know what? We should, yeah. You know, we should really do that. You know why? Because I think that Mackenzie's mom is one of the.
Let's get Ant in here in a minute. My man Anthony got MSG's gonna log on for a minute. Peace, bro. Peace.
We should. That's Demi Lovato.
Peace, peace. And about to jump on here. We're gonna talk some real basketball shit, man. We're gonna talk a lot about. Yeah, man. Oh, there go Ant. All right. Let me get him on here. See if he connect.
Yo, what up?
My brother.
How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. You know, living the dream like all of us, living a life we've never lived before. So
That's true.
it's all brand new.
Yeah, but first and foremost, man, how your sister? Could you hear me? Yeah.
She's a lot better. Yeah, yeah, I can hear you. She's a lot better now than she was. Excuse me. A few weeks ago. A few weeks ago, she was sleeping about literally 20 hours a day.
Wow.
So she's up and has a ton more energy now. She helped, like, we have a 24-hour aide, so she helped the aide cook the last 2 nights actually. So her energy over the last, I'd say, 4 to 5 days has been substantially better than it was the last 3 or 4 weeks. There's definitely no quit in her. That's for sure. You know what I'm saying? Like there's zero quit in her.
Yeah, man. I'm glad to hear she's pulling through and she's continuing to fight, man. It's such an uphill battle, bro. But yeah, exactly. Prayers for G all the time. We always thinking about it, man. Even if I don't speak to you that often, just know
No, no,
everybody's concerned and always caring.
yeah, I know. It's tough, man. I've never seen, and granted, I get to see her. I've seen her every day of her life, basically. But I've seen people go through 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times less, and complain more than her. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? Like, and I could probably even put myself in that category. Like, whether it's like spraining an ankle playing basketball, and like, what's up, Michelle? And you don't play ball for like a few weeks, and you're complaining. Like this kid, like, was a regular kid in October, a beautiful 20-year-old, like doing some dating, taking the train to the city, really figuring herself out, and then not only does she have a stroke and she loses, one whole side of her body, 10 days later, she gets diagnosed with the worst possible brain cancer and has not complained at all. She just wants to beat it. She just wants to beat it. She just wants to be an inspiration, and that's what she's doing. And one thing about my sister, and the story I could share 1,000 different stories. So we live in a world where everybody wants to brag about what they do, and I'm sure I've done it too at some point. We've probably all done it. There's
sure.
no getting around it. So I never told the story publicly, and I'm going to tell it now. So before my sister had got sick again for the second time, I would drop her off at least once a week, once every 2 weeks at the kids' cancer clinic, and she would go there to talk to kids that just got diagnosed with brain cancer or do arts and crafts with them. She went there all the time. She never posted one photo. She never told somebody, yo, take a photo of me talking to somebody with cancer and I'll post it on my Instagram. Not one person knows that she did that. I mean, I did, you know.
Yeah.
That's about it. I just dropped her off. She went because she wanted to go and talk to kids that had cancer and help them out. There's not one photo. There's no evidence of that. She just did it because she wanted to do it so bad. In today's day and age, especially her age group, how many people would do that and just post all the evidence?
Everybody would.
It's a fact.
She's extremely rich. I mean, celebrities, boast about it. You know what I'm saying? When they
100%.
shouldn't be.
Right.
And for a person that has enough on her plate to not have to go out of her way to go deal with help anything else but herself. She's so. You're right. She's an inspiration, bro. There's no way around it.
She's incredible. So, she's in bed right now. We've been hanging all day. Kind of one thing. It was a blessing. She got sent home from the hospital on March 1st. She had been in there since October. Because if she was there now, I would not be able to go visit her. Like, I actually asked our nurse practitioner last week because we had to go to the clinic. The rules if she was in there now, even for an 8-year-old, is soon as the parent or the guardian, they can't even leave the hospital room. They can't come back unless it's a crazy emergency or discharge.
Really?
So she went home coincidentally at the perfect time. The only thing is we're just bored like everybody else stuck at home because when she got home, I was looking forward to hitting so many restaurants. Like she loves going to restaurants like we all do, hitting so many restaurants and, looking forward to going to El Barro, still having, what I'm saying? Like looking forward to a lot of things. And all those things will happen. Everything's just on hold. So, she was lucky when she went home, but we're all just kind of home doing nothing. And we were binge watching the show about the 2 dudes that escaped jail from upstate today.
Escape from Donahue.
Yeah, that's
great show.
I was following. Did you watched it all?
Yeah, I watched it when it was
on episode.
When it debuted.
I didn't even know. It's funny. I didn't even hear about this show till yesterday, and Elgin told me about it. I followed the story when it was happening. Like I was rooting for those motherfuckers. I thought it was hilarious, especially with upstate New York. I grew up upstate, so I didn't know they made this till yesterday. So I just started watching it.
I'll give you one better. Ben Stiller made it. He's like the director.
Yeah, I saw that. He's always known for comedy.
Mm-hmm. It's dark and weird, and it's not funny at all, that show. It's serious.
Is he from upstate New York?
Nah, I think the story just kind of spoke to him or something, and he wanted to be a part of it. You know what I mean?
Because there's nothing funny. I mean, I'm glued to the show, but there's nothing funny about it.
Patricia Arquette, I believe she was either nominated or she won a few awards for that role.
The lady?
Yeah.
I mean, she does do a fantastic job. That's a crazy role to play.
And they made the show like a year after the whole, ordeal happened. So it was like so quick that they were able to
did it up there like at the prison, right? Like
they shot it at Clinton, right? Yeah.
That's crazy. I'm sure they didn't go in there, but they were outside.
Yeah, like whatever they could use, outside shots and all that kind of stuff, man. But yeah, I mean, look, binge watching stuff. Everybody's doing it. We all miss sports, so we're trying to keep ourselves occupied. But you can only watch for so many highlights, right? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, and I'm not a huge old game watcher. I mean, Michelle, it's actually on Showtime. If you don't have Showtime, text me. I'll give you my password, free of charge. It's on Showtime, actually, though. Yeah, I mean, I love to watch old Knicks games. I've done that my whole life, especially over the last 20 years since the Knicks haven't been good. So you find an old game from like 1998 to watch to make you feel good. But I'm over it now, man. I'm over it. Over watching old games. Like, I'm not a binge watching type of dude. I'm a guy who's out and about. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's been cool to binge watch some shows. I've been binge watching Family Matters, my number one show growing up. I could give you a top 5 later if you want. That's my number one show, my number one favorite show. But I'm sick of this shit. This is not a life I live. It's not, or any of us live. Well, some people actually probably love this. I do not.
Yeah.
I like having a day like before this happened for me personally, and not counting the last 6 months with my sister. I like a day like this once every 20 days.
Yeah,
once every
a break from
days,
the norm.
Yeah, you be home, watch TV, do nothing. But literally, I'm talking once every 20 days. Not this.
Not the norm.
And I hadn't played ball really since the summertime, and I started playing late February, early March too. I was getting the stroke was there, but I was getting my game back. I was playing with my friend Lex. She got these little runs she do all over the city. So I played in one that Saturday. It was the day after. There was one. The next day was the Knicks' last game at the Garden, and that Saturday playing ball, we played in the Bronx over at Castle Hill. And I remember, like, people were talking about Corona. Like, we didn't think this was gonna happen yet. And I remember people were like, "Yo, I got some hand sanitizer," like it was fucking a crazy bag of weed. Like, "Yo, son, I got some. You want some? You want some? I'll take some. I'll take some." But that day, the Knicks played that the next day. And that Sunday night Knicks game, it was weird, man. Like, you felt like something was just not right. Like, the energy at the Garden was awful. And not because of the team. But the energy is always good. And you know how I knew this is really fucking... And granted, I wasn't following the Corona in January and February. I knew it was happening, but I wasn't following it. The Wednesday game versus the Jazz. Remember that game?
Mm-hmm.
So I went Monday versus the Rockets, which we actually won, ironically.
Yep.
There were some Corona conversations, but everything was normal. Literally 48 hours later, I go to that game, and I went early for an event, and I see Allen Houston. And, Allen and I have been cool 15 years. Every time I see him, I hug him. So I go to give him a hug like I always do. Motherfucker gives me his elbow. I'm like, what you giving me your elbow for? And then a few other times that night, I saw just regular people. They were like, I went like this, and they were like, "The fuck?" And here we are, a month and a half later.
Yeah, a whole new world.
Yeah, new world. Yeah, and we have no idea what it's going to be like in 2 months. I'm just hoping, just as far as this year's season, obviously the Knicks, we have no chance. We're not going to playoffs. Just cancel it. It'll be remembered forever as the year of the Corona, and focus on opening night in October. That's my opinion. Like, we don't need. I guess I'm sure Laker fans and Milwaukee Bucks fans would disagree, but I said, but we can't. But how you gonna, Michelle? How you gonna social distance at a game in October? We're gonna assume October should be somewhat normal. They should focus on opening night in October. Just cancel the baseball season. Focus on football opening and basketball, and hockey next year. Just my opinion. I don't know what you think.
I think the biggest fans that would disagree is like Clippers fans, right? Because they've never, really been an odds-on favorite to win.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Clippers,
Bucks,
like they've, the only reason I say the Clippers is because, they were like the little brother, the stepbrother, the ugly duckling out there. But, look, what I'm saying? We can always do this, right? We can always talk shit about sports. We can always get into it.
What's your stance on that? Would you agree with that?
Should the season continue?
Well, if you can't continue it, my thing is, if you can't continue it in the next month, you wash it. It'll be forever remembered as the year of Corona, and just hope you have opening night at normal. Because I don't want opening night and Christmas Day next year. Like, just just wash it and have opening night, normal time next year.
So like how many Knicks games have been played approximately? Like how many games have?
I would say 60, about 62.
I mean, we had a shortened season one time, right? And we went to the finals that year. So the NBA could essentially play a few more games and go into the playoffs, right?
They could, yeah. My thing is, if you don't do it in the next month, just wash it. Or I guess, let's say you played the playoffs in August. Guys already had a long break. They don't need their regular offseason, so you could have the finals in August and still have opening night in October.
That's true.
Guys are probably done having breaks. They've had long enough breaks as it is.
My gut feeling is that Adam Silver wants the guys and all the people want to be on the court. So whatever version they can get them out there and get people, seeing it, they'll just do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course.
But I don't know. I want to see basketball. You know what I mean?
None of us know. None of us know. Like, we can all bet. Like, people will even text me, "Yo, Ant, what do you think?" I don't fucking know, but I'll give you my guess. I don't know. Who would have thought this 5 weeks ago? Who would have thought this?
It's big. Shit, I mean, basketball obviously is what we care about, right? But it's obviously affected everything. So when
just going to a restaurant, I
just going out and being normal.
Yeah, going to the diner, grabbing coffee, something to eat. When I have an event to do, I usually go to a diner and just get on my phone, order something to eat, and I'll be there for 2 hours. That doesn't even exist anymore. Like, you go to a pizza place, they got Even my local bagel place I've been going to my whole life, Bartow Bagels. And if you're in the area, you need a bagel, that's a good place to go. You came in the first few weeks, you could go in, but you had to like social distance. Now you literally have to order at the door and wait outside. Which is a lot of places now. It's just like, what the hell are we living in?
It's 2020, man. It's a whole different thing.
I like the thing. I was telling one of my good friends that I grew up with. We went to Philadelphia. Shout out to Red Bull for this. We went to Philadelphia, sat in a suite for the Lakers-Sixers game. And we was texting the other day, and I said, "Yo, bro, that was officially the last day of normalcy because Kobe, rest in peace, passed the next day, and everybody, the other 8 folks on that tragic helicopter flight, and really life has not been the same."
What's crazy, you was there to see the Lakers play and not know, and then they got on a plane and they found out.
Yeah, exactly. And me and my friend, I guess because LeBron passed Kobe that night and we saw it live in Philadelphia, me and my friend had like a 30-minute Kobe Bryant conversation walking out of the arena in Philadelphia. It's like a lot because, like I said, LeBron had just passed Kobe, so it was fresh. And we were like, isn't it weird that Kobe had been retired 4 years and people forgot how great he was? Like as a basketball player. Like, because everybody was talking about LeBron, Jordan, and it was like, what about Kobe? Like, people like legit stopped, not stop, but there were some basketball fans that stopped talking about Kobe Bryant the last few years.
If you weren't a Kobe fan, you would gloss over him pretty quickly. You know what I mean?
I'm a Knicks fan, so I'll put like, Greg Anthony over Kobe Bryant. But like, I still know basketball. I know Kobe's one of the greatest players of all time, but people were just not talking about him for the last few years in those barbershop type conversations.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's what had to happen for everybody to remember how great the man is. You know what I mean?
Oh, I mean, he's Mike. To me, it's Mike. I don't know. I think Kobe is more basketball skilled than LeBron, but LeBron is a physical freak. It can do things physically we've never seen.
Yeah, he's just born with the gifts like that. Nobody, you can't teach that.
Oh yeah,
like that.
When you're 6'8", 280, and when you're in 10th grade. I mean, not an ounce of body fat. I mean, that's just crazy, Remember when his games were on national TV in high school? 02, 03? Oh, yeah. That was crazy.
Some of those games were on pay-per-view.
Do you remember who was on the cover of Slam with him? A little trivia for you.
Sebastian.
Yep, Sebastian Telfair.
That's a great segue because, I wanted to talk to you about point guards. You know what I'm saying? About New York City point guards.
Hey, listen, I've been doing this a long time. I like to consider myself a pro.
Yes, yeah, you are a professional, sir.
And we'll never know this answer. And you mentioned New York City point guards, and a lot of people I've spoken to over the years about Sebastian because I love Sebastian. Back in high school, he won I think 3 straight city championships. I mean, Steph only won 1, and they said he really needed that year. He was supposed to go to Louisville, and they said he really needed that year at Louisville. That would have been a big difference for him.
Yeah, I mean, the jump is not for everybody, right? It's such a
thing.
Thing.
You never saw a lot of small guys on the jump. You saw Moses Malone, Sean Kemp, Kevin Garnett, Kobe Bryant. You know what I'm saying? Guys like that. You never really saw a point guard.
Was he the first point guard to do it?
Off Maybe the dome. I mean, there were after like 98, 99. There was guys. Michelle producing the show. There was guys. There. If you look at some drafts in like the late 90s, early 2000s, there's probably guys that jumped from high school that you don't even hear about. Like so many guys are doing it.
Yeah,
but as far as
true.
Point guards. I can't think of. I mean, I can't think of another point guard that jumped from high school. I can't. If I'm missing somebody, let me know. I mean, remember Omar Cook? He was 1 year at St. John's.
Yeah, he did 1 year. Yep.
That was another guy. He needed a couple more years. Another great New York City point guard. Yeah, I think. I mean, if I can't think of another point guard that left after high school, I don't remember.
So all right. So let me give you the background here. Why I wanted to talk to you about the point guard situation, right? So I had this. I'm doing these documentaries, I'm doing filmmaking and everything like that. And I wanted to do a whole doc series on point guards, right? Point guards all over in every borough and every part of the country and even farther parts of the, the world and how they portray their version of a point guard and everything like that. But we're from New York. So it's like we got the cream of the crop. We got
Yes.
the names.
Oh,
We
we had
made
the cream of the crop. We may not have
well,
the cream
yeah.
of the crop anymore.
Well, I
We
mean,
had the cream of the crop.
the game has changed. You know what I mean? The game is a lot different. Because in my opinion, New York City point guards are attacking guards. Now the game is played a little further away. You know what I
Yes.
mean? I mean, we don't get it twisted. We still got an all-star. We still got Kemba. You know what I mean? We
Yes.
still have a very
And Kemba's a
top tier.
throwback.
Yeah, he's an attacker.
And if
You know what I
Kemba
mean?
was on some better teams, I think people would have been talking about Kemba way more years ago.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
You know what I'm
If he
saying?
was going to the playoffs every other year or something like that, his recognition would be different. I get killed by my boys because I wanted Kyrie on the Knicks over Kemba, and it had nothing to do with Kemba. It's just I wanted Kyrie Irving. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, Kyrie's kind of a mess, though. As far as I feel like he's a decent
yeah.
dude. I just feel like with a team, he's like a mess.
Yeah, it's a lot of baggage. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah, I
definitely
don't
a lot
know
of
why,
baggage.
because he does seem like a decent dude. He obviously can ball his ass off. Obviously, health has been an issue with Kyrie Irving throughout his career. Obviously, he's a proven winner, big shot maker, but he gets the injury bug a lot.
He got the injury bug, and his style of ball is like, even if he doesn't want to, I think he plays hero ball because he can get the bucket. You know what I mean?
He can,
So,
yeah, and his handle is like ridiculously good. Maybe the best of all time.
It's
I'm
definitely
not
up
saying
there.
number one, but it's definitely up there. Absolutely.
It'd be top 5. You know what I mean? Because he's
I
doing
agree.
things I've never seen, and
Yeah.
I got a handle. I've seen people with crazy handles, and this kid, he makes everybody look stupid. You know what I mean? But nevertheless, I'm curious, right? Like when you was out here and you was and who was the point guard that you wanted to play after? Like what guard did you grow up, idolizing
As a point guard, not a shooting guard.
as a point? Well, hold on. That's the thing. Let's clarify. Do you consider when you played high school ball and everything like that? Were you a shooting guard or were you a
Hell
point
yeah,
and just shot?
Shooting guard, and I got a handle too. Shooting guard.
You were a shooting guard.
100%.
I thought you were a point that just took the bucket.
No. Like they played me off the ball. Like I had 41 in a game in high school, in the league. Yeah. No, I mean I could bring the ball up the court and make a pass, but I was off the ball. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah. Like when at practice from like 6th grade on, when we did drills or ran plays, I was never on the ball. Like rarely. It was like off the ball. And it was fun because like in high school, especially playing upstate, we played against a lot of zone defenses. So like there was a lot of catch and fire. Yeah, a lot of catch, which I like playing against man because I do have a handle. I like to think I have an array of moves for a decent player. But playing against zone, you don't really get touched. So for me, I like playing against zone because I can just catch and fire.
Yeah, like the point guard thing is such a pivotal, important piece to me in basketball. It's what made me like basketball. My father introduced me to ball. He showed me Magic Johnson, and he was like, "This is what a basketball player is," right?
Yeah.
And I didn't like the Lakers. I just was enamored with Magic, right? Because his name is Magic. When you're a kid, you hear that it's incredible. He makes all these passes. He's always smiling. He makes people feel better. I said, that's what basketball is, right? You uplift.
So now to answer your question, which guard did I love the most? And I did want to play like him, but I really didn't. But it was Kenny Anderson.
Yeah.
I mean, Kenny Anderson, man. Like I loved his swag. I loved the way he brought the ball up the court. Loved the way he got guys involved. I loved when he was at Georgia Tech. He'd go behind his back like 3 times in a row and get you. He was a great passer. So I didn't necessarily try to play like Kenny. I try to play more like John Starks, Chuck Person, guys like that for me personally. But I love
the rifleman.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. For me personally, I study more guys, like I said, like John Starks, Chuck Person, Hersey Hawkins, cats like that, coming off picks and fire. That's how I play. But you asked me from the point guard position, Kenny Anderson.
Yeah, because I was in the Bronx, until I was about 13, and I moved to Yonkers, and I've been playing ball, my whole life. So I played Kips Bay, and I played on the team with like Andre Barrett, who had a good run. He was, a New York
He
City
did.
legend.
He did. Seton Hall.
And yep. Who was on Adrian Griffin was on that team with him or something
Adrian.
like that.
Adrian Griffin. Yep.
Adrian Griffin. So no, we had. I just saw point guards my whole life, and everybody, my uncle and my father, they all talked about Kenny Anderson. They did talk about a lot of other people, but Kenny was the man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he was.
He was. It was Kenny. It was Rod Strickland. They had a bunch of other people like Kenny
Mark
Smith,
Jackson, Kenny Smith.
Mark Jackson, Kenny Smith. Like Kenny Anderson, he had this different thing. But then
it sucked that he was in New Jersey, and when you watch old highlights of Kenny Anderson, you literally, and I've talked to Kenny about this a million times, you literally see 8 people in the stands.
Yeah,
that's crazy, man. He was
playing pre-Corona.
Him and DC, Derek Coleman, that should have been a 1-2 punch for 10 years. If Derek Coleman had it. I think Kenny had a good work ethic, but I don't think Derek Coleman did. Derek Coleman could play, but I don't think he practiced. You know what I'm saying?
Coleman was he's like one of the greatest, Syracuse players. Like he's the man.
Like
Derek Coleman, you're right. They should have been like.
And they was playing they was playing in front of 7 people at the Meadowlands, old Brendan Byrne Arena. But as far as point guards, I love it. I mean, Kenny Anderson, 100%. I mean, this the swag, the New York swag, you know what I'm saying? And, Left Rack City. Yeah, and of course, Stephon Marbury. As a Knicks fan, I kind of hated Mark Jackson because I was 4 years old in '87. So, I didn't really become a diehard Knicks fan until '92 when I was 8. So Mark had just got traded. So to me, Mark was a Pacer. So I just hated him. I hated Mark Jackson's game. I hated it. But I love Stephon Marbury. Love watching him at Georgia Tech. His skills is off the chain.
The thing with Mark Jackson, right? He reminded me so much of like when I had to play against older people. When I seen older guys play, Mark had that game, right? Where it didn't look like he was moving fast, right?
Right.
He could slow roll you to death. He little baby shots, and then he talks so much.
Back you down to the paint.
Exactly.
I mean, the NBA implemented a rule because of Mark Jackson.
That's when he
would kill Charlie Ward, and sometimes even Derek Harper with that back down bullshit, with his little hook. The jump hook in the paint, the fuck out of here with that shit.
So you had that class, but then our age group, I saw with my own eyes. I saw like these next, class of point guards that was just amazing with Skip and Sham God, and I was like, yo, these dudes is something else because they had both. They had the streets and they had and they had the
Skip was on the cover of Slam in '97 at Fresno State.
I had every Slam magazine. We in the store, in the Since 1992 store, we got a whole slew of them.
Jerry Tarkanian.
Jerry Tarkanian, exactly. Yeah. That Fresno State, that would be a nice throwback jersey.
I booked Jerry Tarkanian for a show in 2006.
Really?
And it's been around. The same day I booked Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I was at the Final Four in 2006 with my flip phone, and it was with Brandon Tierney. He was the host. And they give you a table in a hotel room, and my job was and this is where everybody was staying, all the legends, all the other college coaches, but they basically paid me like $15 an hour to chase down people and bring them to Brandon.
That's a good look. Kareem.
So I chased down, I chased down a bunch of others too. I chased down Jim Boeheim and Jerry Tarkanian, but I got him Kareem though. I got him Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Man, you're talking about a top 5 player, man. Ever.
And that trip, it sucks. Because we lived in a different era. 2006 was a lot different. I don't really have a lot of photos from those 3 days out there. I wish I did. I got a couple. I had a photo like Brandon and I on the court with the crowd behind us. But it was 2006. MySpace was popping.
You needed a camera back then.
I had a flip phone. We both had. So we got on the plane to go to Indianapolis. Brandon and I both had our flip phones. But at the time, ESPN. I don't know if you remember this. It was in 2006. ESPN just came out with like a high-tech flip phone. It was the ESPN phone. Remember it?
I remember that, yeah.
And Brandon had it. So people on the plane was like, yo, what's that? I was like, yo, it's the new ESPN flip phone. But we were in Indianapolis for the Final Four. I noticed I saw a lot of people with BlackBerries. And I'm like, man, I need one of these things. And where are these? Everybody had this BlackBerry. So my first smartphone I got a few months later, and my boss at ESPN Radio gave me a Trio. Remember that?
Oh, those
it was a step above a BlackBerry. A step above a BlackBerry. Yeah, yep. That was my first smartphone. I don't know where we got to this topic, but that was my
No, no,
first
no. We were
smartphone.
just
The
talking about,
Trio.
when you ran into these, when you booked these people, and
I did,
you
yeah.
didn't.
So yeah, I've been. Oh yeah, Skip to Jared Tarkanian, and I booked Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Yeah, I've been around this game for a long. I'm not even that old, man. I'm 36 years old, but I've been around the sports media shit since 2004. Hustling. You know what I'm saying? Like doing my thing.
Yeah, man. I mean, the grind is real. Since the day we met, I was like, this guy knows his shit. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
And it's crazy, because going back to your point about, I wish I had the phone I had now, and I wish we had Instagram and everything, so these people could have seen Marbury and Skip, especially Skip. I mean,
Yeah,
he's something else. Skip was Skip was a walking show. Even though Sham God was the man, he had the uptown thing going on. He was too cool. Skip on the court
yeah,
was the draw,
yeah.
and kids now might go back and watch the N1 mixtape tour, but that was his. He made that. You know what I mean?
You know who was
He
fun to watch? I went to some games at the Rucker and shit back in the day. Was who was the white guy, the white point guard?
for the N1
He,
mixtape tour.
nah, he played at the Rucker all the time. He never played in the NBA, but he was nice.
Um,
He had a nickname. It wasn't White Chocolate. I mean, that's Jason Williams. So he was a
nah, that's
white
J
guy. He
Dub.
never played in the league, but he had a name. But he was good. He was fun to watch too. Crazy swag.
He wasn't with the tour. He was just playing in the games. Not
Yeah,
not that
yeah,
kid Professor. Yeah,
yeah. Him. I think so. Yeah, he was fun to
yeah,
watch.
that kid. Oh yeah. He was cool. He was cool. Yeah,
I
my
don't
little
think he
cousin
played. I don't
just
know if he played
chimed
in
in.
college. I know he didn't play in the NBA, but I remember watching him. Um, you know, at the Rucker. I went to Gauchos a few times, like 02, 03, saw him play there.
Man, those games is legendary, man. You know, because when you had somebody that could bring up the ball, they just changed the game for you. They made
Yep,
everything different.
yep.
And New York, because we got every borough is different. Everybody's situation and everybody's approach to the game is different. You get a different swag, a different feel. You know,
Of course.
Steph was the type of player that win you the game. You
And
know,
Steph was powerful. And Steph had range. Of
yeah,
all those point guards, Steph was the best shooter by far. Steph
yeah,
pull up from 30. Steph's J was
easily.
wet. And Steph was the strongest. Strongest, most powerful, and fastest. He's the best at all New York City point guards talent-wise. Hands down. As much as I love Kenny, much as, Mark, Kenny Smith, Rod Strickland, talent-wise, I think Stephon Marbury is number one.
Yeah. I mean, obviously we too young and seeing Lenny Wilkins and Bob Cousy and all those
Yeah.
guys. But from my eyes, Starberry's the man. You know what I mean?
It's just a shame that obviously he's won at life. I mean, and I like Steph, and it's just a shame he was never on a lot of good NBA teams. Whether you want to say it was his fault or not, we could save that for another time. But it's just a shame that like every time he left the team, they got better. I don't know why. I'm not saying it's all Steph's fault. Sometimes, he didn't do himself any favors, which a lot of shit that happened. But talent-wise, off the hook.
Did you
But
watch his
also,
documentary recently?
oh yeah, I did. And also with Steph, I wonder if he was in the NBA now in his prime, if he would have played the two. Like maybe you
He
have
probably
him
would have
off the ball,
at times off the ball. Yeah,
he could still create off the ball, but maybe he would have played the two. I don't know because he would be a good enough shooter.
man. Steph game was today's game.
Right,
He where the guys can just create and do what they got to do, and
and he was so powerful.
hmm
Probably the
and
strongest point guard. Straight guard,
imagine
maybe
that
him,
back.
him or Chauncey Billups probably.
Yeah, I mean back then pulling up from 30 was unheard of.
Right,
So you give Steph that ability now, he
right,
knock a few down. He's like Lillard with more power. You know what I mean?
right. Exactly,
What they see
exactly.
Dame do now. He had that. You're right. It's just unfortunate that his NBA career had this roller
It
coaster.
was a weird career. Like when you think of Steph, and like there's really no playoff highlights. He had that one buzzer beater versus the Spurs in 2003 with the Suns, but there's really not a lot of playoff success. You know, leaving KG, and I understand why he left Minnesota. He just didn't want to be in Minnesota. I get that. But, like, his career was weird. Obviously, again, he won. He's won at life. He's got more money than, probably, most people. But his NBA career was weird. Wasn't a failure. It was just kind of weird. Does that make any sense?
Definitely.
You feel me?
No, 100%. I agree. It was strange. But the fact that he was able to go out the other side of the world and have a whole nother career and win and become the MJ of China, it just shows you how great
he should be in the
was.
Hall of Fame because it's the basketball Hall of Fame.
Yeah, you're right. Because they put Bill Walton in the Hall of Fame, and he had a horrible NBA career, but he was such a great college player.
The thing about Steph and the documentary, and I knew this from I was around those teams a lot. I mean, I knew it from just observing what I saw. I didn't know from, I never really talked to Steph much when he was – I talked to every Knick back then but Steph. Like, he was the guy – he would just walk by everybody. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But, there was – I don't know who said – maybe it was his mom. Somebody in the documentary was like, Steph had everything he wanted in his life but happiness.
Wow.
And I could tell. When I was around those teams back then, I could tell. I mean, it wasn't rocket science. I mean, this guy was not. And granted, we were losing. The difference is that we lose back then, nobody's blaming David Lee. Nobody's blaming Quentin Richardson. Nobody's blaming Jamal Crawford, although maybe Jamal took a crazy shot somewhere along lines. But everybody was blaming Stephon Marbury. So the pressure that was on him was crazy.
It's a weird thing. I couldn't walk in those shoes. I don't know. It's.
I mean, this guy, he was miserable. So, and I never talked to him. You could just tell. I'm not talking shit. I'd see him after every game, and I'm just like, man, it sucks. I liked it. I love Steph. I can tell you one time I saw Steph smile though. So my G loves Steph because I love Steph. It was like 2004, 2005, and it was after the game. I was already working for ESPN, so I had a little cloud at the Garden. So we were waiting for the players, and G went up to Steph and asked for an autograph. And his smile lit up, and he gave her an autograph. And but now he's happy as hell. It's awesome. Like you said, the pressure he was under in New York was just too much. It was too much, and the roster sucked. I liked all the guys in the roster, but the roster just didn't fit.
Yeah, it was. Like you said, it was just strange. It was just an odd time. But that goes to show you that he really did love children. He really did like, being around kids and making kids smile.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, no, I always thought he was a good dude. I knew he was miserable for what he was going through. Not necessarily calling him a miserable person. Absolutely not. I knew he was miserable for what he was going through. And every day in the paper, it was another story about Steph. Like I said, there wasn't stories about Jamal or Q or Jared Jeffries or David Lee or Nate Robinson or Malik Rose or Eddie Kerr. Everything was about Steph, That probably weighs on you after a while.
Imagine that, right? You go home, you're a New York City legend already. By the time you get there, everybody's rooting for you, but at the same time, everybody's watching everything you do wrong.
Everything you do wrong, yep.
That's a scrutiny I don't know if I could live with. You know what I mean?
Yep, it was a gift and a curse. I was at his first game as a Knick, and when they announced him, when Mike Krzyzewski announced him, he said, "Please welcome home, Steph." I mean, it was that game. I mean, that game may have been. Now that game we lost by 30. Before the game, I would say the energy before the game at the Garden was thicker than the energy for Melo's first game. Wow. I was at both. Now Melo's first game was much better because we won and Melo played great. The difference with that game was the game started, we were down 30-2. So the energy was sucked out of the building. But before the game started, for Stephon Marbury's first game as a Knick, the energy in that building was ridiculous. Because, he was ours. I mean, Melo, we love Melo. I love Melo. But Steph, he was ours, and he was coming home. Energy that night was crazy.
Everybody was a Marbury fan, bro. It's just it was just he just had it. He had the glow. And like I said, he was able to shine with above his peers who were other great point guards.
Yep.
He came in the game with other great point guards. And he was the man.
That draft was crazy.
In my opinion, it's the greatest draft ever. We made a T-shirt about it. It's so crazy. I mean, the possibly the most, besides Kobe, the most fan favorite person wasn't even in the legendary picture was AI. You know what I mean?
He wasn't in the picture. Yeah, where was he?
No, it's
Got to be
I
a
don't know.
story behind that.
You have to ask him. You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know
You
either.
could
I
text
could
him.
take a wild guess.
He probably didn't want to deal with that.
Or party, maybe. I don't know. Guessing.
Yeah, he was too busy. He
Well,
was too cool at that point.
You mentioned Kenny Anderson. I went to a basketball camp summer of '95. Summer of 1995, I was going into 7th grade. And the weeks leading up to my week, this camp called Golden Valley in Sydney, New York, it had George Lynch speak to the kids. It had Chris Mullin, had Jerry Stackhouse, had Anthony Mason. My week was supposed to be Kenny Anderson. I was pumped. Yo, it's like the day of the speaker. We all in the pavilion. We waiting for Kenny Anderson. Man, he don't come. Who shows up? Bill Wennington. Yo, right when he starts his speech, the first thing he says is, you guys know, a few months ago, Michael Jordan and I combined for 57 points versus the Knicks. He had 55, I had 2. Everybody laughed, but this 12-year-old, I didn't. I was 11, actually. I didn't laugh because I was still mad about that game.
We're gonna have to relive that double nickel game this weekend.
They'll
with the
yeah. I'm looking for. Listen, I probably wouldn't want to watch it 15 years ago, but I'm older now. Like I'm looking forward to watching this. A few Knicks fans. I said that on Twitter, and a few Knicks fans gave me some shit like they bleed more orange and blue than me. It's history. I am looking forward to watching it.
Listen, who I root for and what's interesting are two different things.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely, 100%.
It is a part of history. I hated Jordan because he beat us, because he beat everybody, because he was just the relentless fighter that everybody couldn't get past. You know what I mean? Not because of anything else. It had nothing to do with being a Knicks fan.
What I find the most fascinating and what I want to even learn more things about in this documentary is how they were just so willing to break that team up, because they could have won 1 or 2 more. You know what I'm saying? Because Mike was still good till 2003 when he came back from Washington. Scotty was still a productive player. They could have kept those 2, retooled a little bit, made a free agent sign here or there, and easily won another championship or 2. Who breaks up a team like that? That to me, that's
Jerry Krause, I guess.
I'm glad they did, because we went to the finals the next year. But as a basketball fan and a historian, I'm so fascinated what went into the thinking of breaking. Because also, they lost money because if the Bulls stay together for another year or 2, that's more ticket sales, that's more merchandise sales, and more winning. It's fascinating they broke them up.
We're gonna find out, but I'm assuming it has to do with egos and situations that people couldn't see the big picture.
I mean, I think I hate to say it, I think they would have won 1 or 2 more.
Yeah, why not? I mean,
they
wouldn't slow it down.
I always say the '97 Knicks had a chance if we played them. We didn't play them because of the suspensions, but I don't know who was really beating them. They were just so good.
It wasn't like they sort of got into the championship and won. Didn't they win like 67 games that year, something like that?
It's crazy. The documentary is basically on the '97-'98 season. Son, they had an off year and won 60 games.
Yeah, it was a down year.
They had an off year and won 60 games. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely interesting. You know what I mean? So I'm watching. I'm gonna watch it, and we're gonna have a post video chat about it.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, I would. It's just fascinating. Like, again, the breaking up of the teams to me is very interesting. Like, why would you want to? And although Steve Kerr was still good, I mean, Ron Harper was still good. He played.
Coach was coming into his own.
Yeah, so like I don't know why. Again, I'm happy they did, but I don't know why you break up that team. But I definitely want to wonder why.
I think we're gonna find out it has a lot to do with Jerry Krause and Phil Jackson, and I think that's probably
one thing I find weird though, and Mike
people that ain't on the court.
One thing I found weird. I know Mike was loyal to Phil. Is that Mike said, and he obviously came back and he played for Doug Collins 2 years in Washington. But when Mike was like, at that time, I'll only play for Phil Jackson. I wonder if Mike said, I'll play for another coach, if they would have just brought another coach. I don't know.
I think that's those behind the scenes arguments where it's like, I want to get Phil out of here. And it's like, no, well, I'm the sticker for my coach. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I respect that.
And
And if he got
sort
to
of
the
Kobe
finals
and
the next year,
yeah, exactly. Kobe embodied that as well when him and Phil, made that connection.
yeah, but when Phil first left, Kobe still played. He had a few years with Rudy Tom John. Oh, Phil was only gone 1 year. That's right. He had the 04-05
Mhm.
with Rudy Tom Jonovich, and then Phil came back the next year.
Yeah, he had like a
Phil was there
weird
from '05 to
version of coaching.
2011
Yeah,
when he came back.
when he came back, yeah,
Yeah, he gave him all the books and all that shit.
he became like his protege.
Yeah.
You know,
But I
but
don't
yeah,
think
man. I
Phil
mean,
and Kobe got along the way Mike and Phil did.
I think Kobe adored the coaching ability
I feel they
the
clashed more than Mike and
expertise.
Phil. I'm guessing.
Mike is Phil's guy. I think we're gonna learn all of that, man. That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying. This is interesting. This is history.
it is. It is.
It's you figure 20, 30 years from now they'll be doing a documentary on how the Warriors broke up. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah. Your boy Draymond broke that shit up.
He put it
And we're
together and
seeing
broke it
how
up.
good we saw how good he was this year. And one thing I really hate right now in basketball, and it wasn't like that when we were growing up because we're basically the same age,
Mhm.
that if you're not a champion, you're not great. So Draymond Green, when he said, now granted, I get it, Charles Barkley can be annoying, I'm sure, if you're a player, especially now. So Draymond Green was saying how Charles Barkley can't talk to him about basketball because he's not in the same class because Draymond has a ring. I hate those conversations because you're telling me that you're telling me Robert Ory can't sit at the table with Patrick Ewing, John Stockton, Chris Paul, and Allen Iverson? Nah. I hate that.
Yes,
I hate those conversations like that. That's not fair.
that's Dre. That's Dre talking sideways. Because let's be real. Ray Charles could see that Barkley's a immensely better player than
Thousand
Draymond
times
Green.
better. But even before Dre said that, this notion that you're not great because you don't have a championship, I have a major problem with.
No, I think the ring conversation come in when you're going against other people that have rings. So it's like, it's criteria based, but it doesn't necessarily take away the fact of how great you are as a player.
Right. Now, if you
That's like
want to
Carmelo
say
and John Stockton are still great. You know what I mean? Even though they
now, one
lost.
thing I will say, and I was texting with someone about this years ago. I'll give you an example of a player who was great, Tracy McGrady. Now, he never got out of the first round. Now, if you want to say a player's not great because he didn't get out of the first round or a playoff series, I could agree with that. Now, I think T-Mac was great, but I think that's different. But based on just a championship, no.
I don't need. It's funny, right? T-Mac doesn't get that slack. Melo gets that slack.
That's a good point.
It's perception, right? It's perception.
That's a really good point. T-Mac has never, not counting when he was on the bench with the Spurs, T-Mac has never won a playoff series. A series. Series. That's crazy. So that I will argue, how does this dude never want to, if you're that good, you should be able to carry your team to a series win. Maybe not a championship, but a series.
True. I love T-Mac, but I understand what you're saying, and going back to the Draymond Green thing, that's the only thing that Drake could say to Charles Barkley.
Right.
First of all, Charles is funnier than him. If you want to get into the
he
whole
is.
trolling
Yeah, Dre's
game.
not that funny. Charles is funny.
Dre's not. Charles is one of the funniest, people in sports. And secondly, at that time, in my opinion, as an individual player, it was Mike, and Charles was right there, right under him.
He was, and Charles could
individually
take over a game by himself, get you 30, 35. Draymond Green can't take the basketball, take over a game.
Every team that Barkley played on, it was Charles, excluding that Rockets, thing. That don't count, right?
They were
when he played on
close,
Philly,
though. They were close. They got to the conference finals in '97.
Yeah, but it was
it was like a 1 year,
force.
1-2 year thing. Right.
It didn't seem organic at all.
John Stockton hit that shot to send them to the finals.
Exactly. Maybe it was the jersey.
I didn't like it. I hated that's obviously I'm a Knicks guy, but I hated the mid '90s Rockets jerseys, the mid '90s Jazz jerseys. I liked those traditional ones before them. I hated those. I hated those Rockets ones, and I hated those Pistons. I'm a traditional guy, So I hated those Pistons ones, those teal Piston jerseys.
Hmm.
I like the Pistons white and blue. Like I don't like wearing a different color at home. I'm a white at home guy. I'm a dark on the road guy. I
It
also
is
hate
it.
I hate that
Go ahead. I'm
change
sorry.
now. I also hate that I now know this is a money thing. Every NBA team now has like 6 uniforms. It's too
City
much.
uniforms, all kinds of stuff. You
The,
never know
the
what they're gonna
fucking
wear.
the city, the statement, the home, this uniform, the drink of water uniform. Like what the fuck? And I get it. They all probably sell well, but oh, it's too much.
Yeah, I mean, they try. I guess they tried. I guess they want to see what works and what doesn't. Throw shit at the wall. My least favorite jersey that I've saw NBA players wear. Yeah, those jerseys you made were whack. But these T-shirt jerseys,
Oh, I'm glad they did away with them. I
that
hated
shit
them
was
with a passion.
horrible.
Yeah,
Like
a bunch of soccer players.
the fact that LeBron did a chase down block to save a game in that jersey,
Yeah,
he should get more points for that. You know what I'm saying?
and they were tight too. I would
Yeah, it was
imagine
like
you don't wear
fitted
tight.
jersey.
Yeah, those jerseys made no sense. Now I could see if they wanted to like sell it because maybe you could rock it with jeans, but like yeah,
Yeah.
those as jerseys on the court, I hated them. Yeah, same with me, Dave. Just give me white at home, with the exception of the Lakers. They were yellow at home, but I'm a traditionalist. Give me white at home, color on the road. Maybe, but now it's like you go in the. Sometimes you got a lot of teams in the league now changing courts for certain games. So I'll be home, I'll be watching a game, and it takes me 2 minutes to figure out who's playing because you'll have some teams now wearing colors that aren't their traditional colors. So you'll turn on a Miami Heat game, these motherfuckers wearing baby blue and pink. I'm like,
Yeah.
who the fuck's playing? Who wears baby
They
blue and pink?
It's funny, right? Like how the NBA looks at that, like the zeitgeist of like the fandoms, because that's a colorway from a LeBron shoe, right? That's that was
The
one of
Miami,
his
yeah,
like
Miami. I actually have those.
that was one of his that was the South Beach LeBrons.
Yes.
And
Yes.
they actually turned it into a jersey. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like they pay
That is
attention to what's
correct.
going on in the streets, and they're like, "Oh shit!" Because I guess the people that are making some one of the decisions are our age now. You know
Yeah,
what I
you're
mean?
probably or younger to be honest.
Or yeah, it could be like
Yeah,
28, 29 year
probably
olds,
younger. Yeah, we're
and like
old
this is
now.
what the kids want to wear. Yeah,
Right, and they might be right. Listen, I would love maybe Miami Heat fans like them. Me, as just an NBA fan, I grew up on Miami Heat wore black and red. This team wore purple and red. That's how I grew up. So when I see any team wearing like a wacky color now, I'm like, what?
So let me ask you, comparison, right? Like we watched late '80s, all '90s ball. The point guard was one way.
Yeah.
Do you prefer it that way as the point guard should be, or how it is now?
I mean, I prefer how it was like back in the day. I mean,
A
basketball
distributor.
players are probably better now, more skilled now. Although I don't love the way the game is played with a 3-pointer every time down. But I prefer like the point guard to be like also the leader, the floor, like the way Chris Paul is. So now it's kind of like just park ball. But some teams, it's like 3 different guys bring the ball up the court, and it's good to have versatile players. Like actually, ironically, the Bulls in the '90s, they didn't have a pure point guard. It was mostly Scotty. Scotty brought the ball up the court most of the time.
They're a rarity in general, all around.
Right.
They didn't have a point guard.
So me personally, I prefer more of the traditional point guard.
I don't even. Yeah, I agree.
Kenny
right?
Anderson, even Steph, Gary Payton, John Stockton, Steve Nash. He was a little more faster, and Jason Kidd, guys like that. I prefer, and I miss, and I'm being the old guy in the room right now. I miss the pure, run the offense point guard. Rod Strickland, Mark Jackson, Chris Paul, even the way prime Darren Williams, guys like that. Those are the point guards that I love. Point guards that I miss.
It's funny, right? Like I told you, I came up watching. Magic Johnson was the first thing I saw in basketball, so I wanted to play like that, and I thought that is basketball. So to see it now, I'm not a hater, right? And I'm not trying to be an ageist, but it's definitely you have to be open-minded, right? But I guess like
Oh,
you said, the game is
I
different.
am. But it's just like everything is a three, and it's coming from someone who loves to shoot threes myself personally. Like, but it's like every time down is a three. It's so predictable, and it used to be like you had one or two guys on the team that maybe shot a lot of threes, and it was cool. Now, JaVale McGee's popping threes. Like, come on, man, it's too much.
Yeah, the game has to be. Yeah, you have to have balance, and I think
And
that
it's
point
good to
guard
be
is supposed
versatile.
to create that.
So if you're 7 feet and can knock down a three, that's wonderful. Like Porzingis, I don't even want to talk about him, but like he wants to be on the perimeter so much, bro. You're 7'3", take advantage of that.
I mean, look at his boy though, right? I mean, that's a new that's a different kind of point guard, right? He just threw a
Luka,
wrinkle in the game.
I don't even know.
He's a whole different breed of point guard.
That slow ass step back that nobody can stop.
Speaking of Magic, he has a Magic style game with a better jumper.
He does. Luka Doncic is incredible
because he's big and he plays kind of slow, right? And he's not super fast,
but his footwork is tremendous.
Correct. Yeah, so you're right. To see the game change and to see things added to people's abilities is great. I don't necessarily subscribe to the fact that you see these Twitter wars and these social media wars where people were saying how whack the players in the 90s were. I'm like, no, they weren't whack. It's just the game was harder. So it seemed like
there was more
to get you the
the
game.
rules were different.
Exactly.
The rules were different. You were allowed to be more physical.
So, yeah, you're not going to go off the way you are going to now. And you don't have these IG, Instagram trainers. You don't have these apps that kids nowadays have. So obviously you're gonna grow up with it. Evolution is gonna give you the ability to have more skill sets. Doesn't mean you play better on the court.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It doesn't mean that you're gonna deliver a better game.
Yeah, I was saying that because I always see people on Instagram. They're always posting like whether it's their kids with cones, and I'm not saying like I never really coach, so I'm not an expert. But I feel like if you're doing the same move against a cone, like for me, again, I'm not comparing myself to like a really good basketball player, but if I'm making a move, I like to feel the defense. So one time I might fake once, the other time I might not fake at all. That cone is going to be always there. You know what I'm saying?
I completely agree. I'll give you an example. I have a 7-year-old daughter and I have a 1-year-old son, right? If my son wants to play ball, that would be great. My daughter likes basketball
she
a
balls.
lot. She's
she
left-handed.
Plays. She's a hooper.
She plays, yeah. She's left-handed and she likes to attack. I don't do the whole cone thing. I'm not a big drill guy, right? And she has no care for it. She likes competitiveness. So all I think is, all right, let's go play against, let's when we practice, she's going at me.
Yes.
So I said, because that's
so for that.
That's replicating what a game is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what basketball is. You're going to be going at each other in some way or
another.
It's
funny you mentioned all these trainers. So one of my really good friends was a coach up in a very rich town in Westchester. And he tells me, like all these parents, they just like hire these trainers for their kids. And he's like, motherfucker, just go out there and get 10 kids together and play. But all these parents, they spend time, and they're in a rich town, so there's money. They just hire somebody. They hire these motherfucking trainers and these cones instead of getting 10, 20 kids together to play all day. And it's like, that's how you get better, but like you said, by competing.
Yeah, I mean, look, I ain't no hater, right? If you're a trainer and you can get money, get money. You know what I'm saying? Finesse, do what you do. But you're only gonna get better by competing, right? That's the only way you're gonna get better. And a drill is not gonna do that. Going back to AI, practice, it's not the same.
I think you could do both. I think it is important to like play by yourself and shit too. You just gotta do both.
Yeah.
And I got no problem with the trainer stuff as much as just. But go play against one another, too. And that's where I'm not hanging out with 16-year-olds, but that's where I don't think kids are doing as much anymore is competing against each other. I think.
Somebody said cones don't block shots. It's 100% true. My man Mike said that. It's true. You can't replicate that. Even when you outside in the park, in your driveway, whatever, your abilities are, and you shooting, you sort of have to simulate something like you're doing a move and it's like, oh, you can't hold. You know what I mean? You have to make it feel like that. So we come from that era. So when I think of a point guard, I think of somebody that's looking at the game and looking at the players. So now you come this